Chicago fans, the countdown is on, and all eyes are locked on Soldier Field this weekend because there is no way to sugarcoat it. This matchup is personal. The Chicago Bears are set to host the Dallas Cowboys, and the return of former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus has the whole city buzzing. This is not just another early season showdown. This is about pride, redemption, and proving that the franchise is moving in the right direction after a rough few years. The man once trusted to guide Chicago into a new era is now back in town, only this time on the opposite sideline, calling plays for the Cowboys defense. That storyline alone brings drama, tension, and more than a little fire for players and fans who remember exactly how things went down. Eberflus himself tried to play it cool when asked about the emotions surrounding his return. He talked about the tough moments in coaching, the disappointment after losses, and the grit it takes to move forward. Classic coach talk. But let's be real here, the wounds are still fresh in Chicago. Fans remember the lack of situational awareness, the questionable play management, and the feeling that he was simply not ready for the head coaching job. No one doubts the guy's effort, and no one is saying he is a bad person, but his time in the Windy City left the fan base with more frustration than celebration. That is why this Sunday is not just another game. It is a chance to show that the Bears are building something better without him. For Chicago, the focus shifts to the field, and there are plenty of big decisions looming. One of the most interesting storylines is around rookie defensive tackle Shamar Turner. After missing training camp with a high ankle sprain and being inactive for the first 2 weeks, he might finally get a shot. Dennis Allen hinted that Turner is turning the corner in practice, and if there was ever a time to make a change, it is now. The interior of the Bears' defensive line has struggled, with veterans not creating splash plays and grading poorly across the board. Andrew Billings is a space eater at nose, but beyond that, the rotation has been underwhelming. Chris Williams has logged snaps without making an impact, and that opens the door for Turner to get his chance. No one is saying throw him in the fire for 30 snaps, but giving him 10 to 15 to see what he can do feels like a no-brainer. He was drafted in the second round for a reason, and if the veterans ahead of him are giving nothing, why not let the rookie prove himself? At the same time, the Bears' offense is under the microscope. Caleb Williams continues his journey as the franchise quarterback of the future, and the coaching staff is seeing growth from week to week. Declan Doyle and Ben Johnson both talked about his improvement, pointing out that while progress will not be linear every single week, the expectation is that by the end of the season his game will be at a much higher level than where it started. The real challenge now comes against a defensive unit coordinated by Eberflus, who knows plenty about Chicago's personnel. This is where Williams' poise, decision-making, and growth will be tested. Fans are looking for another step forward, even if it is small, to show that the franchise is in good hands. Defensively, there is also the issue of dealing with injuries in the secondary. Jalen Johnson is set for injured reserve, and with Kyler Gordon also sidelined, the cornerback room looks thin. Tariq Stevenson and Deshaun Wright have been thrown into the fire, and while they gained reps in training camp, the reality is they got torched in the last outing. The hope is that with a full week of preparation as starters, the young corners can settle down and perform better against the dangerous Cowboys passing attack. It will not be easy, especially with Dak Prescott capable of exploiting mismatches, but Chicago cannot afford another collapse on the back end. Special teams also has its share of intrigue. Richard Hightower was asked about newly added kicker Jake Moody, describing him as a talented leg with potential to grow. While the focus is on this week's matchup, there's a clear sense that the Bears see Moody as a possible long-term answer, even if his confidence needs rebuilding. On the return side, there is no question about the challenge. Cowboys specialist Cavani Turpin is electric, maybe the most dangerous return man in the league. Every time he touches the ball, there's a real threat he could take it to the house. That means punter Torrey Taylor and the coverage unit have to be locked in, angling kicks to the sideline and limiting space. One mistake in this phase could flip the game, and against an opponent like Dallas, Chicago cannot afford to give away free points. Of course, none of this matters if the Bears cannot get healthier. The injury list is concerning, with multiple starters either sidelined or limited. The linebacking core looks thin with T.J. Edwards and DeMarco Jackson dealing with issues, while the offensive line has its own problems. Kieran Amage's elbow injury continues to linger, and his inability to stay on the field is frustrating for a coaching staff that needs depth up front. Some are already wondering if he could be a roster cut down the line once other players return. Add in DeAndre Swift nursing a quad problem, and the backfield rotation could also see changes. Coaches have hinted at giving more opportunities to Midway and Roscoe Johnson, and that might not be the worst thing considering the lack of explosive plays in the run game so far. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are not entering this game completely unscathed either, but their situation looks more stable. Trayvon Diggs returned to practice after an illness, and Cavani Turpin was also a full participant. The only real absence expected is Don Bolin, a corner dealing with a foot injury. Beyond that, Dallas seems relatively healthy, which means the Bears will have to overcome their own setbacks if they want to keep pace. This game is not just about talent on paper, it is about urgency. The Bears cannot afford to fall to 0-3, especially with a fan base that has been patient for too long. Every week with Caleb Williams at quarterback is part of the bigger picture, but this matchup carries extra weight because of who is on the opposite sideline. Fans want revenge, players want redemption, and everyone wants to prove that Matt Eberflus was a chapter best left in the past. The pressure is high, the emotions are real, and Soldier Field is set to be rocking on Sunday. The spotlight continues to shine brightly on Chicago as this matchup with Dallas creeps closer. And while much of the chatter surrounds the return of Matt Eberflus, there are deeper layers to what this game means for the Bears' trajectory. It is one thing to talk about personal vendettas or past frustrations with a coach who did not pan out, but it is another to recognize that the Bears are at a crossroads with this roster and coaching staff. 0-3 is a dangerous place to be, especially when you're trying to build confidence around a rookie quarterback and a team that has invested heavily in young pieces on both sides of the ball. Momentum matters, and a win here would not only ease pressure, but also send a message that this group can respond to adversity. The biggest key on offense remains the continued development of Caleb Williams. Every snap is a lesson, every drive a teaching point, and the growth from week 1 to week 2 was already noticeable. The Bears are not expecting perfection from him, but they are expecting him to make strides in reading defenses, speeding up his progressions, and trusting his arm to take advantage of mismatches. Against Dallas, that challenge gets even more complex. Eberflus may not have worked out as a head coach, but his defensive schemes are structured, disciplined, and capable of causing confusion for young quarterbacks. That is why it is so important that the Bears' offensive line gives Williams the time he needs. Protection has been shaky, and if the pocket collapses early, it limits his ability to test the Cowboys' secondary, which has shown cracks when forced to cover for too long. At the same time, the running game needs to become more than just an occasional spark. DeAndre Swift has been dealing with nagging injuries, which has slowed down his rhythm. That opens the door for backs like Roscoe Johnson to take on a bigger role. Johnson has shown flashes of toughness and the ability to grind out tough yards, while Midway brings a fresh set of legs that could surprise opponents not yet familiar with his style. Chicago's offense cannot afford to be one-dimensional, and if the ground attack can at least keep the Cowboys honest, it will help Caleb Williams find opportunities downfield. Defensively, the Bears have been searching for consistency. There are moments where the front seven looks stout, plugging gaps and getting pressure, but there are just as many where opposing offenses dictate the tempo and exploit mismatches. That is why the possible debut of Shamar Turner is intriguing. His physical tools give him the chance to disrupt the pocket, and even in a limited role, his energy could spark a defensive line that has been too quiet. The veterans in the rotation have not provided impact plays, and without pressure up front, the secondary has been left exposed. Turner might not be the full solution, but giving him a chance is better than watching the same struggles unfold week after week. The absence of Jalen Johnson looms large. His ability to lock down receivers and provide stability in coverage is something that cannot be replaced easily. Tariq Stevenson and Deshaun Wright are learning under fire, and the task of slowing down Dallas' passing attack will test their discipline and resilience. These young corners have talent, but talent without execution against a polished quarterback like Dak Prescott can quickly lead to breakdowns. That means the pass rush must do its job, collapsing the pocket and forcing Prescott into quicker decisions. If the defensive front cannot create pressure, it could be a long day for the Bears' secondary. Special teams might not get the same spotlight, but it could be one of the deciding factors. Cavani Turpin's ability to change games with a single return makes every punt or kickoff a tense moment. For Chicago, that means punter Torrey Taylor must be sharp, placing kicks where coverage can rally and limiting Turpin's space. Field position battles often get overlooked, but in a game where every possession will matter, flipping the field could swing momentum. The Bears also need to watch their own return game, as even a solid special teams performance could help relieve pressure on the offense by giving them shorter fields to work with. Health continues to hang over this matchup like a cloud. Kieran Amage's latest setback is frustrating, and his inability to stay on the field raises real questions about his future role. Meanwhile, the linebacking core looks thin with T.J. Edwards and DeMarco Jackson banged up. Chicago's defense thrives when its linebackers can fly around, fill gaps, and cover in space. But without depth, that unit could be exposed. On offense, Swift's quad issue may limit his touches, which again highlights the need for Johnson and Monangai to step up. It is not just about who is healthy enough to play, but about who can play effectively. Too often, guys return at less than 100% and struggle, leaving the team in the same hole. The Bears cannot afford that cycle right now. The Cowboys, on the other hand, appear to be trending in the right direction health-wise. Trayvon Diggs being back at full strength means their secondary gets a major boost, and Turpin's return to full practice only solidifies his role as a weapon on special teams. The lone concern remains Don Bolin, who looks doubtful, but Dallas has the depth to cover that loss. What this means for Chicago is that they cannot rely on injuries slowing down the Cowboys. If anything, Dallas enters Soldier Field with a more complete roster, and that means the Bears must be sharper across the board. All of this builds up to the reality of the stakes. A loss drops Chicago to 0-3, digging a hole that is historically difficult to climb out of. The fan base has endured years of promises about the future, but patience has its limits. Caleb Williams is the centerpiece of this rebuild, but winning matters, and giving him a supportive environment matters too. Falling behind early in the season not only hurts playoff hopes, but also risks damaging the confidence of a young quarterback. On the flip side, a win here would change the entire mood. Beating Dallas, spoiling Eberflus' return, and showing resilience with so many injuries would be a statement that the Bears are building something real. Soldier Field will be loud, emotions will run high, and the challenge will be immense. But this is exactly the kind of game that can define where the Bears are headed. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Chicago Bears might be on the verge of a blockbuster move that could shake the NFL landscape. Sources close to the team are whispering about a potential signing that has fans buzzing. Marcus Williams, the standout star whose performances have turned heads across the league, could soon be donning the navy and orange. While the organization has remained tight-lipped, insiders hint that discussions have been progressing rapidly, and the possibility of a formal announcement could be closer than anyone thinks. Williams, known for his electrifying plays and leadership on the field, has been a centerpiece of attention in recent seasons. Analysts suggest that his versatility and knack for big-game impact make him an ideal fit for a Bears squad looking to reclaim its dominance. Social media has already erupted with speculation, memes, and hashtags, signaling that the Bears faithful are more than ready to welcome a player of his caliber. The idea of Marcus Williams lining up with Chicago's storied franchise has become the talk of every sports bar and living room from Wrigleyville to beyond. Although no official deal has been confirmed, the atmosphere around Hallis Hall is reportedly electric. Sources say management has been working behind closed doors, trying to navigate the financial and strategic details that could make this move a reality. Fans, naturally, are on edge, dissecting every snippet of news and every cryptic social media post for hints. Meanwhile, Rival teams are said to be watching closely, knowing that if the Bears secure Williams, the NFC could face a serious new threat next season. Whether this rumor materializes into a signing or remains just that, a tantalizing what-if, the mere idea has already energized the city. Merchandise sales, ticket speculations, and fan chatter suggest that Chicago is ready to embrace a new era of excitement. Marcus Williams to the Bears may not yet be official, but the whispers are loud enough to spark celebration, daydreams, and a flood of online debate. If the move happens, the franchise could be poised for one of the most talked-about transformations in recent memory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.